Hey folks, how we all doing? I'm a mute. I think I'm muted. Hey folks, how we all doing? If you can, raise your hands. If you can hear me, let's go ahead and do it. All right, excellent. Caller, if you can hear me, raise your hands. It looks like most people. How many people tried flying their airplane again? We have lab Thursday for those people, but the people that did Saturday, we got them done. Okay, let me see. We'll see in the questions. I'm going to put everybody's hands down, and then I'll ask you how it flew. All right, let me put everybody's hands down. If someone's flown it again, you can let me know how it flew. It'd be great while we wait for other people to get in here. So no one's flown? Well, for everybody else, Thursday we're going to hit it. We'll send out the date. I think we're going to be the 2 weeks from Saturday. We'll be open for 3 hours. You can come in, finish your plans, do things, hang out. Just be kind of a kickback kind of day. All right. All right, so we got that. Let's see. All right. Okay. Let's give it just another minute or two, and then we'll get started. What we're going to do today, as you've been designing aircraft, and I think sometimes it's good to look at bad designs or ideas that just didn't work. One thing, if you get into designing model airplanes or regular airplanes, good flying airplanes just look good. I mean, it sounds really weird, but they have a certain look to them, a certain symmetry, a certain sleekness. They all look well. And man, you design one that doesn't look that way, you better have some really good reasons why it's going to fly. Okay? See if there's any questions here. Anybody said that? You didn't hear me. My detail rubber crashed and then mine went last week, so I don't know if it got working. Okay. I don't know, but we'll get you set up. We're going to go over design, so you want it. Might fly the glider tomorrow. Okay, didn't fly it yet, but I've been working on a water air bubble project, but my math is lying to me. I'm not sure I understand that comment, Aiden. If your math doesn't lie to you, if you don't like the numbers, it's probably not going to work. You did not hear Mr. Dubek. If you did not hear Mr. Dubek, web crashed, and then mine last Wednesday, so I don't know if it got working. Okay, that I didn't know, but we'll start on this right now. And I'm sorry, caller, that happened. I'll find out. I went down for a few minutes. We were able to bring it back up. His computer completely went down. We called and worked him through it. The date is going to be, I believe, the 5th, 19th. So I need 1.3 million pounds to hold the air to the bottom of the pool. And I know that's not right. I agree with you. I'm willing to agree. But remember now, it doesn't take a lot of surface area to get a tremendous amount of weight. If you're going to do the whole floor of the pool, it might be that weight. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Sometimes I think it's really great to look at bad designs and learn from them and to get good designs. And this isn't going to be a knock on the engineers that worked on these projects. This is not a video of, oh, look at what a dumb idea. Now, okay, there might be one or two we actually do that, I have to admit. But we're trying to, because it's hard, and some of these designs that we're going to talk about, they weren't a bad design. They might have been just a little or too early or a little bit too late with the technology. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and just look at lots of aircraft and their designs for them. Okay? And it's just as an engineer to appreciate that. For every great, beautiful airplane or rocket or piece of furniture, there's lots that are not so good. Okay, hang on one second. All right. So, here we go. First one. These are going to be designs we're going to talk about. These are designs that came out, planes you probably never heard of, and their problem was they just waited a little bit too long. This was, we called, think of this plane, just for the name alone, the Accountant. Boy, that steers. I just want to fly that airplane, the Accountant. But the idea behind that name was businesses were going to get it with a turboprop. And the problem was you had old equipment in the plane itself with modern new engines. They didn't know how to do it. And so it was a British airplane, and they just were way underfunded. They couldn't get that done. So that was called the Accountant. And this is a German boat, all right? Which, pardon all you German speakers out there, is about to insult the name, Blum on Vals BV-238. It was going to be a flying boat for the Luftwaffe after World War II. And they were going to use it for that, and they were going to... But then they decided to use it for the Army. So here it is, going to be this flying boat thing, all right? Well, reality is, all the other aircraft, it could take off the water as a big boat, but everything you build into this airplane so it could take off the water slowed it down and made it an easy target for the Germans, you know? And they were going to put machine guns in the nose of this thing, if you can believe it. And even by 1944, when it came out, it was the world's heaviest airplane, all right? And it was kind of wild. They were going to use 4 24-cylinder engines. Now think of a car. It uses only 8. And they were going to have 4 engines that had 24 cylinders. So that's like 96 cylinders to get this thing to go off the ground. And by the time, this is one of these things, luckily, I'm glad the Nazis lost the war. They started too late to get started on this. So today's going to be a little bit of a history lesson too. All right. Okay. Now, here's one you probably not have heard of, called the Boeing Sea Ranger. Again, trying to do the boat thing. All right. Now, that's kind of cool. Twin engines, you can see, is just as engineers start to appreciate the design in these things. You look at the one behind it. Oops. You got to keep your engines away from the water. So you notice they don't put the nose in front. They put the motors up on top. If you're going to design on the ocean, you need to have more than one. But this had the idea of a flying boat, because before World War II, if you did a clipper or something, you landed in the ocean. You might land at a harbor and they fill up your fuel just like a boat would, and then you take off. Unfortunately, those aren't very efficient. And runways got a lot better after the war. So people that were designing this plane, Boeing, they were thinking like engineers in the 1930s when they need to think of today. Now, in your lifetime, you would think we've always had iPads and iPhones, but we haven't. Even in your lifetime, those are relatively recent. So, or you might be just born. It might have been. It came out right when you were born. But think of all the years and years before that, we never had stuff. So sometimes as an engineer, You can be working on a design, you can use all your experience, and it puts you behind. All right? As always, those things got moth. Now, here's one that's just kind of dumb in my opinion. Look where the machine guns are. All right? This was the Bolt and Paul Defiant. This is World War II airplane. So is this. We're going to go through this. Now, this really was, you would think it would be, this is the same time as Hurricanes and Spitfires, very successful planes that helped defend Britain, which turned the war the other way. That's why Winston Churchill quote, "Never so much has been owed to so few as the RAF." All right? What they wanted to do is they thought was if we put a pilot flying and a gunner in the back, that the gunner can do a better job targeting than a pilot in the front flying the airplane. And the actual first few battles, they did pretty well because the Germans couldn't understand what was going on. They thought the bullets were going to come out of the front of the airplane. They were coming out of the back, and it really messed with them. But pretty soon, you know, it really wasn't that great of a plane. And here's one of the consequences when you're an engineer and you design things for the military. It was an inferior design. All the pilots flying these things were all lost in battle. Every one of them was shot down. So you're sitting there, think about that. As the engineer designing these things, realize people's lives really do matter. Whoever can develop the better combat plane faster is going to save lives. All right? So it's a Boulton Paul Defiant with machine guns in the back, like a Boeing, like a big bomber or something. All right. Now this is a huge plane. The Bristol, another British plane, Brabazon. All right. Now that plane is interesting that it was going to be, it was after the war. They wanted to make a huge jet. And so they decided to make, it's larger than a 747. It's huge, 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 huge jet. Well, there's a couple problems when you design a huge, huge jet. Where are you going to land it? Next, the skin, the surface, it's the unintended consequences. Like, we're going to make a huge, huge jet. So what would you, folks, what do you think you would need to do for a huge, huge jet? What are you going to need a lot of? What will give it thrust? Yes. Good job, Aiden. A lot of engines. And so we can build engines. We can build lots of engines. We were doing that in World War I. And if you really think about it, that was 15 years after the Wright brothers learned how to fly an airplane. So take your lifetime from the Wright brothers to what you saw in World War I. But this plane, because it was so big, the structure itself was cracking. They hadn't developed the materials. Materials engineering, if you like chemistry and like engineering, that is a field that a lot of advances in engineering don't happen until the material science is proved. In fact, if you take a modern day engineer, aviation engineer, designs airplanes, drop them in the beginning of World War I or after the Wright brothers, you're going to see something very similar because they're limited by the materials they had. We're going to fly a little bit colder. No, we're going to talk about different airplanes tonight on a design. But I'll give you a little bit of time here. Okay? Is that all right, Calder? We got some funky designs. Let me go over here and click. All right. So we go through here. And also, have you ever heard of a Convair? There's an airline company that's gone out of business. And this one is, the problem with this one is Howard Hughes. Ask your folks about Howard Hughes. Became this eccentric billionaire. If they had billionaires back then, he was worth a lot of money. And he built an airline, and all of his customers were telling him, we want 6 seats across the airliner. And Howard Hughes said, no, you should only have 5. There's not enough space for 6. Well, nobody would buy his plane because he wouldn't put 6 seats across them. And that's how an airliner makes their money. So sometimes his own bias for that caused that. All right, thanks, Colin. And in fact, I'll go up here in a minute and show you. We'll come back to an interesting one here in a minute. Some of these are in alphabetical order to set it. All right. This, for example, you can go into this right here, a Convar. This is a flying superfortress. It was supposed to fly with this flying superfortress. Looks like one, right? That's the good news. You know what the bad news is? If you had stock in that company, it really didn't come out until the very end of the war. By then, it's too late. So engineers, a lot of times, have to be willing to, you've got to make it. If you don't get it, in this case, while the war's still going on, you're never going to make it. That's as opposed to something like this. Let me show you this. That's silly design. This is a Convair Pogo. Let's spend a few minutes talking about this design. We'll go back to those other designs. There's bad ideas. See the little wheels? The idea was this jet was going to take off on aircraft carriers. It was going to be a vertical takeoff plane. The pilots had to use a step ladder to get into the plane. It's set vertical. And they're basically roller wheels on all 4 wheels. In fact, you can see them over here. This is one of the very few flights of it because it was dangerous to fly. Here, 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 and here. And the idea was that you'd be able to be on an aircraft carrier, launch it straight up, and it would fly away. Problem was, and then you would land it. Think about this. You're the pilot. You've got to turn your head, look it down like you're parking a car, and try to land it just on those little wheel things. Those things had to break the minute. There's no way they can handle that force. Also, do you think a carrier deck is very stable? When there's a bad storm, do you think that's very stable? And anybody who calls it a pogo is probably, I know, were the engineers kind of joking when they made that name? I mean, that's why this is a case where this one isn't. The other ones I've been showing you so far have been left behind. This is just a fundamentally flawed design. If you designed it for me as an airplane, I would tell you there's problems all over the place with this. How in the world, in the dark, is a jet pilot going to land an aircraft carrier by going in backwards? It's not a helicopter, you know. Oh, we don't have the link yet, Calder. Calder's asking about next semester. Hey, if you're planning on signing up next fall, which is, we always appreciate it. We got some new things we got going on here. Raise your hand if you're thinking about it. Doesn't mean you're committed. Just going to get a sense of how many people are thinking about doing it again next year. Okay, great. All right, wonderful. We'll get that signed up so you can get it. Believe me, we'll do it. Maybe we'll even try to get it. I don't know if we can knock it out Wednesday, but we'll have it next Monday. We've been, the Gamma competition's been going on, and I judge that now. Kids design and fly virtual airplanes, so we've been doing that. All right, great. Okay, so this falls in the category of just bad designs. I mean, anybody got comments besides me on this? I'd rather be just me talking about it. It seems to me it looks like, can you see other things that are wrong with this design? I don't think we have the pogo. Let me just do a real quick try. Cover pogo YouTube. Let me see. Wait a minute. Let me try this. We're going to pull one up here in a minute. I'm going to see if I've got a link on this one. Bear with me 1 second. Hang on 1 second, folks. I'm going to look something up on my other computer while we wait there. Let's see the pogo. Come there. Okay, here it is. Okay, good. It is there. I just wanted to make sure. Check this out. I'm going to link this so you can see this thing take off. Check this out, guys. United States Navy.
You want to create a stunning website?
Sorry, we gotta get through this. Bear with me.
Done it with Wix. Let me show you how it's done. I mean, I'm gonna need to put these. I can't see without them. Just go to Wix.com.
So, gotta give it admit, Navy is trying to do this. So let's see what it does. General Dynamics. Back in 1955, even I was born then, folks. So there he is. Look at it. Looks like a freaking, look at the step ladder type thing he's got to get into. Now I'm going to ask you again, where in the world, how are you doing this on a Navy aircraft carrier?
This is Pete Coleman, Condor Engineering Test Pilot and pilot of the XFY-1 airplane. The following scenes show two hovering flights of the XFY-1. In the first scene, John Knable, Condor Engineering Test Pilot, is being checked out for the first time. My comments to him are recorded on the soundtrack from the control tower. During the second hovering flight, I am demonstrating the handling characteristics of the XFY-1, and both my comments and the control engineers are recorded on the soundtrack.
So you're hearing everybody talking about it.
Switch back to 118.3.
It does. It's trying to make it like a helicopter.
I have no traffic speeds after this, since each of yours departs. Roger, we're going to hold for anyway. Okay, let me know prior to release.
Okay. But they were talking, the pilot in the airport is saying, is there any traffic? No, there's no traffic, so he's getting ready to depart. There it is. So he couldn't even get it off the ground at the time, other than just a little bit to land it.
Let's go back on try again. Stand by, get the battery on, and we'll let you know. You can't take no radio.
And it even went so low. Notice that first time they had to send the ladder out there just to check it out.
If you release the controls and she starts to roll, and it's rolling at a rate where you don't think you can take off, we'll shut down. Hey, Roger, you want to give a 4 knots? 3 knots. fly, negative 649, this will be a lift off. 49, start the takeoff.
All right, let's see if he takes off again. Now watch this, and we'll go on.
Okay, let's go. Okay, John, give it a little power.
There he goes.
Take it up a little more. Keep her up. Keep your nose up. Keep your nose up. Atta boy. All right, let's come off the power. Let's come off the power. Take it easy. Down. Bring her down, John. Back in power. Back in power, John. Back in power. Keep her. That's it. You're right straight. Now bring her back in power a little bit. Bring her back in power.
No, he's trying to land. Look how fast.
Bring her back in power, John. Bring her down. Bring her down. Right here. Okay, a little left here. Right here, around, John. That's it. You got her under good control. Keep her going. Keep her going up. Power, power, John. That's enough. That's enough. Put your nose up. Nose up. Okay, a little right better. Keep her straight now. Easy on the controls, John. Easy on the controls. Bring her down. Bring her down, boy. Bring her down. Come on. A little off the power. Bring her down. Not too much. Atta boy. Okay. Cut.
He's lucky he didn't get killed.
Okay, John. You can hold her a minute. Shut down.
So you can tell from the things. This thing was. You could tell the test pilots. You can just see this thing doesn't want to fly very well.
I really don't need much control to do anything. In fact, if I just milk it, it'll pitch back pretty rapidly.
All right.
I rang the bell on that. I don't think I used more than 10 degrees. Yeah, I'll translate back a little bit. I just want to climb a little bit.
All right, see if come down there. Okay, we've seen enough of this thing that doesn't fly that well. But again, let's see what everybody's saying about this whole thing. I would like to do that, Aiden. I would love to use X-Plane to make bad designs. I've been talking to people at Laminar Research, and down the road, I want to get a whole series of bad design airplanes and do a whole simulation of planes that are just terribly flying. Look at that. It is just awful. Yeah, Pogo would really be a problem when they're blocking other planes in the runway. I agree. By now, an average pilot would be in the air. Where's the gun going to go? Good question. It was counter-rotating. It couldn't carry much armament. So that's another problem. All right. Let's go back to a presentation. So you can just kind of see on that design. I wanted to go to the Pogo to show you a bad design, different some other ideas as we go through here. All right, let me go back up here. Let's go since we did. This one's just devastated. This one's not really a bad design. All that bad of a design. It's just by the time this plane comes out, it's already the war. It's just not up to speed. It won't commit to all the other airplanes. And I'm really just showing you that to just show you that in a war, the engineers are all trying to do it. Now here's a new one. I think I've got it coming up here. Now this one, the Douglas XB Mixmaster. Okay, this plane looks like, hey, you know, torpedo plane. By the end of the wars, those don't really look really great. President Bush, H.W. Bush, flew a plane similar to this. All of his comrades were killed. He survived. He's a very brave guy. You know, our presidents, he's the only one that really saw a lot of duty in World War II. So, fair enough. You design torpedoes to put the torpedo down. The inherent flaw in a torpedo plane like this is to be able to launch the torpedo at the enemy ship, you got to go real slow. Well, as you all know, you don't want to run an energy deficit in an airplane. One, you can't pull it up or anything because you're going so slow. And two, you make a really great target. Not surprisingly, the Navy people that flew these, almost all of them were shot down, killed in action. So they're really brave guys because they're not idiots. When they start flying some of this stuff, it's like, do you really think this is going to work? So in that case, we got to cut them slack. Again, they're using old technology. They're thinking more of before World War II than World War I. And then you have the Douglas XB-42 Mixmaster. It's got what looks like a jet engine in the front and props in the back. Now, that one is, the problem is, because of the way they use the double props and to get it rolling, they tried to get it. But what really got it, maybe as much as anything, is jets were coming out. They didn't need turboprops anymore. All right? They also had separate, on the cockpit of this, they had separate canopy halves. It was for aerodynamics. The problem with it is the pilots couldn't really talk to each other like on a normal day. All right? Now, they were never sure they were going to put the machine guns on this side and this side. The problem with this is actually in the air and space, but this whole idea of the twin props in the back and push it, because you can tell, you know how we're saying sometimes you're left behind? We're left behind because this thing has a jet, but it's got the front. You can see at this point in 1949, they're starting to see where we're going with these things. Let me see if I've got this one on there. Bear with me 1 second. Yeah, that. Okay, here it is. Well, let me see if we got an actual video of fun. Here. I'll show you this. Bear with me. Because it's an interesting, the planes that look really different, we're just going to keep showing. And you can see it right here. Let me turn that down. Oh, sorry. So you go through it. But there it is. It's got the modern looks of a jet, but there's the turboprops. So by the time this design would have been great, say in 1943, 5 years later, no, we need to go with jets. These are all actual flying. So this one actually flew pretty much. And they tried to get it out for World War II. It just had a lot of problems. This is very challenging the first time they did that. Okay? Let's go to the next one. This one is kind of, this is another one of the ferries that, the ferry battle, all right? Okay? This thing was so bad, it got wiped out. The Germans totally wiped out Luftwaffe. And to give you an idea of how this plane wasn't designed for World War II, it used a World War I machine gun in the plane. All right? And they only put machine guns on one wing, not on the second wing. So this is just, you're taking stuff from World War II, put them in aluminum, saying, well, we're ready to go, or World War I aluminum. Such a huge difference. There's another question. Hey, what is this? You are a proud Pogo versus the guy she told you not to worry about a Boeing Apache. Oh, gosh, that would be bad news. A lot of ships have heavy AA guns. That is true. Yeah. Yes, I would not want to go a Pogo versus an Apache. No, that would be bad for me. I don't think I would want to do that. All right, and this is another one of these. Again, you got to wonder where they're same kind of airplane. We're going to just go on to this. Look at this one. This is called the Farman Jabiru, which I don't know. This tried to be an airline plane, you know, and first of all, the nose, the way the engines were, they couldn't cool it off. And the top of this is an open cockpit, believe it or not. This ugly thing right in here, over there. And I don't think, and passengers were sat, I'm trying to think of some of the things I know about this plane. Oh yeah, passengers were in wicker chairs. Needless to say, not super crazy. You're supposed to have 9 passengers. How would you like to be in a modern airline today and passengers are on wicker chairs? So I think that's pretty good. I'm going to just check on my... I always have to check because YouTube keeps coming up with things so fast that... No. And in fact, here's what they're doing. This whole guy have turned out some ugly planes. In fact, let's go ahead. We'll use this YouTube video. Hang on. All right, we go back here. Farman Jabiru. Bear with me. Look, I want you to see all the ugly planes these guys came up with. I spelled that wrong. Dumb. I spelled it. Farman. All right. There's a minute long, so let's watch this. Here's some different airplanes that were in this thing. Look at just the funky nose on these. There's one. Now, in fairness, that was a long time ago. And that's the better looking one. Remember, we're not looking at the one I just showed you on the silk screen. But look how the nose is just shaped on this thing. It's hideous. Again, as you design airplanes, if it looks bad, it is bad. Hold up. Hold up. Read this out loud. Hold up, read this. The C-130 Hercules has turboprops, was used in Vietnam and Desert Storm. Some are used in the Air National Guard. Absolutely, C-130 just crashed. See how Charlotte had one until about a month ago. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that. My dad, who's got this? Oh, I work for him. Good on CJ's cool. So I don't know what's so no. I don't think I said anything bad about C-130s, and I wasn't saying anything bad about turboprops. But if you're a jet fighter in a war where they had jet engines versus turboprop engines, you're trying to fight other jets, you're not going to win. And I would argue there's not a modern jet fighter that uses turboprops. All right. And then let's just go to that, see if they show some. So it's just the front nose of this. I don't know, just an ugly airplane. Quit picking on poor guy. I should be quit picking on him, I suppose. But then look at the nose of this one. Just crazy. You're going to have the pilots sit outside in wicker chairs? Really? All right. Okay. This is, again, great big. We look at this one. I'm going to go up here and present on this. Great big Republic X-12 Rainbow aircraft. Huge. But look, it's got big propellers. See it? By then we're going to jet engines. So it's not hard to blame the engineers. You know, that's not the fault of the airline when it does that. Let's go on. Saabs make different airplanes. And I don't think you realize that Saabs are actually, as a company, the car Saab is based on an airline company. All right. And let me see my notes on this. you know, oh shoot. I hate when my sorry guys, I hate when it does this. There we go, pops back up. I apologize. These guys tried to basically, the reason I point this out, they tried to remake the DC-3. DC-3, very successful airplane before, you know, before the wars. And they just really came back and said, oh, you know what, we're going to just update it. We're going to make the DC-3. Okay? And then another flying boat designs, when they're trying to get across the airliners. This one actually looks pretty, so I'm not going to pick on them on that way. You know, this one actually looks pretty. The problem with this, with the other flying boats, they just came out wrong time. 1930s, great. 1950s, not so great. Now, this is just a silly plane. This is a short SB6 Seamio. First of all, Seamio, really? You're going to call your plane that? Look at this. It just looks bad. All right. So, let me see if I can get a good YouTube shot of this thing. Hang on. That plane was built to go on aircraft carriers. What the idea was they were going to make lots of little ones. And then you would put them in the hulls, the flooring of the aircraft carrier, and they could just pop out. They had foldable wings. And one British pilot called it a camel among racehorses. You know, it was supposed to be an anti-submarine aircraft, but it was just so poorly designed, it doesn't fly very well. Let me see if I can show if they have one right here. Yeah, most of the time I can only get. Let me see if I can get in this air show. No. I get a lot of models of the plane. See, sometimes people make a lot of RC airplanes of these things because they're just weird and you're not going to see it coming the other day. But let's bag it. All right. And they had an air show of it once, but the video's too long in that. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next one. All right, let's go over here. I'm going to get out of time and go on. Like, look at this short sturgeon. Look at the nose pod on that ugly plane. All right, now we're going to go back to here. This is another plane. I don't know if I can find video for this one. The Snepka Flying Calipatra, which is a French, and I'm saying it the wrong way. Let's see if we have that one up. Here's another one of his. The idea is if you have a circular wing, I built one when I was in the 4th grade, in fairness. There's a flying wing. It was all circular, and you fly it because you don't get what are called wingtip vortices. On the end of your wings of a regular airplane, air tends to blow off the end of it and can slow it down. So to beat that, we have that kind of design. Yeah, someone else got a hover. Yeah, Calder, that's fine. You can come. That's fine, Calder. No worries. You're good, bud. All right, so let me do this. Just bring something to eat, bud. For those who staying longer, let me look that one up. And the idea of these, by the way, was that you would be able to put these near rocket launchers. So you could get them wherever we had nuclear missiles. There we go. All right, this is pretty wild looking. And we had 25 bizarre airplanes in the world, but look at this one. Here we go. Let me go out here. Let's go back to YouTube. Bear with me. Watch this. Okay, engineers thought this was going to be a great idea. Let me see that.
And in there was an Attar turbo, a little bit like I'm drawing now. The angular wing was quite extensive in diameter and chord. The cockpit sat out ahead, and in there was an Attar turbojet. It also had the gimbaled nozzle, but being inside an aerodynamic duct, it got some extra thrust through, sucking air in hover modes, and getting a thrust augmentation.
Snecma's creation was named the Coleoptère. The Coleoptère was truly an exotic airplane. At the bottom of its metal skirt were 4 small triangular stabilizers. Located beneath these were unique shock-absorbing landing gear with small castered wheels. The wing was attached to the fuselage by 4 radial struts. Only one Coleoptère was built. In the spring of 1959, the plane was hauled out of the factory under the cover of darkness.
They did it for my birthday, since I was born in '59.
Before being flown, the Coleoptère was hoisted onto a rotating platform. The entire plane was then tilted up and down to expose the pilots to the unique sensation of flying a tail sitter.
Well, the Coleoptère, like the vertical tail sitters before it in America, the X-13 and the Lockheed and Convair tail sitters, still had this peculiar position for the pilot, a most unnatural position to fly. And when they'd come to the vertical after doing a decelerating transition, they had effectively to feel for the ground and no view downwards and behind them at all. And it's not a position that I think pilots would ever get used to. I mean, again, all this flying was done in clear blue skies and the rest of it, of course, and so they never really tested it under adverse meteorological conditions or with a big gusting wind.
Look at that big ladder.
But the Coleoptère was a revolutionary airplane, combining the uncertainties of a tail sitter with an exotic annular wing design was a bold venture. To underscore the pioneering nature of the program, Snecma held a unique photo opportunity. The Coleoptère sat perched next to Louis Blériot's historic monoplane. Test pilots of the world's newest tail sitter had a moment to sit and ponder the historic cross-channel flight made in the Blériot 50 years before.
All right. So there's another idea that a bunch of people tried it. Here's a good one. We've got some more here. This is a glider that they were going to land on the beach with the Marines in it. Think about that. That was going to land. All right. That glider was going to be full of Marines, and they were going to bring it in the beach. Okay. Bring a lunch, Calder. I don't know if we'll have pizza there. They'll get it in time. Last couple times I ordered pizza from them, they're too slow in getting there. If you can't do it anywhere, we'll try, but try to just bring something with you. Next design. So I can prove to you I got some bizarre ones. This is a tank. You heard me. A tank with big glider wings. You know how we do wing loading? If you make the wings long enough, it would carry it. The Russians thought of this idea. We're going to take gliders. We'll put tanks on them. When the tank lands with the glider on it, we'll get rid of the glider wings, and then we'll have a whole division of tanks right behind the Germans. They won't expect it. So there it is. You can see the red star of the Russian army. The one guy who flew it said it actually flew decent. They had one attempt at this. Then everybody started thinking about, well, how are you going to tow these gliders? And the Germans' aircraft could shoot us down like crazy. So that is an idea that didn't. Now, a great book on a side note, if you ever want to read an interesting story, it's called The Night Witches. It's about the Russian women pilots that were flying World War I biplanes and just harassing the Germans all on the Eastern Front. It's an amazing story. Very, very brave women doing incredible things. All right, let me go here. And we got this Armstrong. This is an aero car. This is a flying thing. So we have more of these to actually go through. The this one. Let me show you this. This, you've heard of V1 bombers. This is F1, but this should say V1. The V1 rocket the Germans were using to fly into Britain, they put a cockpit on it, and they were going to have humans in it. So we'll put up a few more of those, but I just wanted you to start seeing some of the crazy designs are out there. What causes problems. How did they get the tank in the air? It had wings, they towed it like a regular glider. Calder, just pick up at 8:45. Oh, you emailed, man, to make the glider fly. All right, Tate. This Tate, to let you know, I emailed you a video. When did you do that, Tate? I'll go look on the, is it in my Young Engineers email? Let me go look right now. Or did you Google Classroom and I just missed it? Hey, folks, also, in the last couple minutes here, I'm going to bring this up. For next fall, if I sent you a survey out, would you fill it out? And it, absolutely no commitment, but I can list the things of what would you like to do, and then you can help me rank them so I know the kinds of projects you would like to do. I would like, to be honest with you, we're going to be doing it. Now, certain things I'm not going to change. We are going to do Arduino, but I would like to do some Bluetooth and wireless with the Arduino, because there's all these really cool projects you can control with your phone. So I can give you some examples of that. All right, Tate. Did you send it to me on Young Engineers of Today? I'm going to go through here, and I'm right over here now. I'm going to look it up right now. See Tate's glider flying here. Oh, here it is. Brand new one. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to save that to my drive. All right, let's watch it. Ooh, man, Tate. You got wheels on that bad boy. Nice. You got, let's see that again. Ah, look at you, little motor. All right, let me see if I can get this to everybody. Hang on, guys. Watch this. I will put it on Google Classroom here. Let me see. It's right here. It should come up. Let's go ahead. Is that volume? Here's it going. Nice. Bring it with you. We'll fly it in the field. If you want to bring it, Tate, bring it to class with you, our school. We'll fly it. We got a big area for you to fly it. Well, we'll still learn things through Bluetooth. You don't have to have phone. We're still going to give you Arduinos and things. No, we didn't put a motor on. Tate did. I did not put a motor on it. There it is. All right. Okay, folks. We're going to go ahead and stop recording now. We're going to stop the webinar. You all have yourselves a great Monday. We only have lab this Thursday. The following Saturday, not this Saturday, it'll be the 19th. We will have a lab in the afternoon. Be open. Anybody's welcome to come to it. We're going to build airplanes. We're going to fly. We'll do robotics, whatever you want to do. All right? So everybody have a great evening now. I got to shut it down and get ready for the next one. Okay, everybody? Have a great day. All right, bye-bye, Aiden. Bye-bye. Thank you, Beck Calder. All right, everybody, bye.